What celebrity would you be devastated to discover is a garbage human? Fred Rogers lived around the counter from me for a few years. He was an incredible human being. As kind and compassionate as could be. He had once asked me how my day was. Like really asked me. Not just wanting the generic response. He was there for a total stranger. He also would let us go onto his office and studio and play with puppets and stuff if he was nearby. That day he asked how I was at an ice cream shop. So we walked and talked and ate our ice cream. Can't believe how far I had to scroll. He also seems to keep everything he does quiet, which makes it resonate all the more. I remember reading a tell-all by a Hollywood nanny, and he and Rhea Perlman were used the definitive example of parents who were highly successful in their careers, but remained grounded and fully engaged in the lives of their children. Honestly, I agree about how exposed you'd feel. I'm British, so most of us very much take an in and out with minimal socialization approach. I can't take people taking too much space on the path, let alone being stopped by fans or blinded by paparazzi cameras. It really takes a certain type of person to handle fame, and hats off to them. I saw John Oliver on stage a few years back. He had a little time to kill at the end and just had a chat, asked if anyone had any news to show him, then sat on the edge of the stage to watch a YouTube video on someone's phone of our one-time Australian Prime Minister bit into a raw onion. True. So he's a good bloke as far as I can tell. Jack Black has given money to Autism Speaks, an organization that's very bad for the autistic community as they try to cure us. They've been funding abusive programs for years. As an autistic myself, that broke my heart. Adam Sandler and several other wholesome celebrities send money to that awful organization. I'm a total emotional freak, but these Weird Al moments have me tearing up. Comedy is such an important part of my life, and Weird Al taught me it's funny to laugh at what's cool. He also taught me the definition of the word pastiche, something between an homage and a joke that still lies in a reverential place. Weird Al has clocked a lot of banger tunes that have come out since 1979. We got it all on UHF, y'all. Met him once working security, when he was going to play with his band. During the gig, I'm standing to the side making sure nobody comes up the stairs, but I'm also not in line of sight with the crowd. Really feeling the music. The smile on his face when he sees people truly enjoying his music, is one of my favorite memories. That, and how he decided to spend most of his pre-show time talking to the local hired security. Yeah, there are so many celebrities who are openly and obviously good people, Attenborough and Parton, for example. You need to read and dig a little for info about Keanu Reeves to get a sense of who he is, because it's not openly/forced PR, and it's far from obvious that such an A-list movie star could be such a stand-up guy. If I discovered it's all bullshit or that he's actually a bit of to people on set or something, then I'd be genuinely more than a bit disappointed. I was once involved in a really small and struggling community theatre in London on the Isle of Dogs, which, for those who don't know, is as affluent an area as it sounds. Every time we did a fundraiser, which was all the time because we had zero money and the building was falling down, Ian McKellen would donate a signed Lord of the Rings poster for the raffle/auction and turn up for 5 minutes to take selfies, which was 100% a thing he didn't need to do. Nice guy. He also has a really big penis. I know this because I saw him in King Lear once, and during the rending of clothes bit he did literally nothing except pull his pants down. Seriously, he didn't even try to rend his clothes, he just calmly pulled his trousers down and stared at the audience. It was completely unnecessary and gratuitous, and everybody in the cast looked embarrassed despite this being something he presumably did every night, but I guess when you're Ian McKellen and you agree to do a stage show, you can write insists on showing off into your contract. It was a great show and he got a standing ovation, at the end, not immediately after the penis bit. Anyway, good bloke. For more context, Chevy Chase and Dan Harmon, the creator and showrunner of the series, would frequently clash on set. Chase would want better lines, more screen time, etc., and Harmon was very strict about his storytelling structure. Add to this, that Harmon only casted Chase because the network told him to, rather than hiring the actor that Harmon wanted, Fred Willard. So Harmon took a risk and tried reviving Chase's middling career. Over time the series became more of a cult success than a network hit, and Harmon's relationships with NBC Universal and Sony Pictures became more strained. This had the very fun side effect of Harmon arguing and fighting Chase and very pettily writing Chase's character as more and more unlikable. Not like Chase made it hard to do so, though, because a good portion of his lines, even the most racist ones, were things Chase had literally said off camera. Then in the time between seasons 3 and 4, NBC fired Harmon as showrunner. They replaced him with two dudes whose credits consisted mostly of shows that never got a second season. Chase's character got written to be even more of a p-ick because Harmon's protege took over as head writer. Then the network renewed the show for season 5 and realized the ratings took a heavy dive without Harmon in charge of it, so they brought him back. By then though, the damage was done and Harmon wrote off Chase's character for good. Abed never left the show, and Troy was written off with Harmon's blessing so his actor could focus on his music career and develop his own hit show, Atlanta. Finally, some context, but in all seriousness, thanks for taking time out of your day to explain all this. And Jesus, he said all that racist stuff? And like anti-Semitic stuff? I definitely picked up that he was getting more racist, more annoying, but that's a fun way to do it lol. Screenwriters really got the most power lol. As for Troy, that makes sense, and that was really nice. Glad his musical career succeeded. Looked somewhere, never realize how tall Jeff was. Honestly, I'd be very pissed off if I was forced to have someone cast it. So makes sense. Again, thanks, have a good night. Castmates have basically said that he's an a-hole, which was shocking to me. He always seems so goofy and lovable. Others have mentioned that despite his bad behavior with coworkers, he has a reputation for treating his fans well. Fortunately for me, I'll never work with him, so I can continue loving me some Chevy Chase. Pretty decent chance he ran into me doing a corporate gig at an event where we interviewed attendees. A fair number of celebrities were in attendance. Our location was inviting them for complimentary services but not endorsements. Most A-listers would politely tell me no or, it's not under contractual agreement. A guy that looked just like, Ryan Reynolds showed all signs he expected me to talk to him. I had on a radio and a notebook. When I approached him I said the exact same thing I said to everyone. Hi, are you enjoying the venue? Great, I'd love for you to tell me about your experience. Can I ask you a few questions on camera? He started to say no and then his buddies started laughing. Oh. You think he's Ryan Reynolds? We get this everywhere. Why don't you interview me? Vailp, sure. We were doing constant interviews and would cut the best of the lot. This guy couldn't string together a complete sentence. And I'm sure he'd had a few drinks, but... Oof. Edit, I missed out on the reference. Ryan was perfectly nice in his response and his exit. His friends. Hanger-ons. I'll say it again. Folks like Epstein are influence brokers. They are the kind of people who literally make it their job to rub elbows with anyone who's up and coming, or who looks like they might be up and coming. An example for you young folks would be Horace Slughorn from the books written by She Who Will Not Be Named. Saying anyone is connected with Epstein is like saying Hitler also drank water. Now if they actively worked with Epstein, regularly invited him to their events, or called him up to discuss business frequently, then it's an issue. Robert Redford has been into people in Utah for decades. My grandpa's cabin used to butt up to property he owned in Sundance. He argued with my grandpa several times about his supposed ownership of different areas. It's unfortunate that nobody stopped him from buying massive sections of that particular mountain. I met JG but way back in her first years on Alias, and she was a sweetheart. Hardworking and couldn't take much time with me, but still spent a minute and let me take a picture. If that's changed, I'm none the wiser, as I'll always remember her kindness that day with gratitude. Lady Gaga. She embodies everything I love about art and music. I am a huge little monster, and even have a Gaga-related tattoo. Her music is my obsession. If she was a horrible person, I would have wasted hundreds of dollars and 5 years of my life. I do, however, believe in the separation of the art and the artist, hence why I'm obsessed with her music and not her, and listen to some controversial musicians, so I suppose it would be a letdown I would get over.